Canada's government is set to announce its response to new U.S. tariffs after trade talks broke down. Meanwhile, there are questions about a series of new sanctions targeting Iran and its allies. CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang joins us from the North Lawn this morning with more on all of this. Weijia, good morning. What can you tell us about these measures against Tehran?
Well, good morning, Errol, and good morning to everybody. You may remember that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent teased the strongest sanctions in history were coming against Iran, but his big announcement yesterday lacked details about exactly how they would cripple Iran's economy.
Those who tether themselves to the Iranian regime should expect to share in the isolation.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent would not say which countries could face sanctions for doing business with Iran or how long they have to comply. But he says President Trump has been making phone calls to world leaders, urging them to get on board with his plan to isolate Iran or else.
They should know that that will move very quickly and that we are serious.
Sam Vinogradov is a former Treasury and White House official who worked on Iran sanctions under the Bush and Obama administrations.
Maximum economic pressure against Iran has to be a team sport, and that team has to include China and it has to include Russia. At this time, we don't have any indication as to whether the Chinese government or certainly the Russian government will be willing to cut off any of its economic ties with Iran.
Meanwhile, ties between the U.S. and Canada remain frayed after trade talks collapsed, triggering new tariffs from both sides.
When the Americans go to the negotiation table first with the right attitude towards our industries and a true partnership, of course we'll come to the negotiating table.
Trump also exchanged insults with the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, who did not hold back.
I have a lot of real estate on my ass, so he has a lot of room to kiss my ass.
Ford said everything is on the table when it comes to potential retaliatory measures, including cutting off electricity. Ontario supplies power to roughly 1.5 million homes and businesses in New York, Michigan, and Minnesota. And Errol, just this morning, the president seemed to respond, posting on social media that the United States is giving strong consideration in renaming Lake Ontario to Lake America because he says the U.S. will not be doing any more business with Ontario. Errol.
Yeah, that message, not even 1 hour old. Weijia Jiang with the fresh information for us. Weijia, thank you. We're now joined by CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio in London. Ramy, good morning. Great to see you. Continue this conversation for us a bit. What more do we know about the countries that do business with Tehran and why some may not have been called out specifically, but are still key?
Yeah, it's also in what has been omitted in Bessent's press conference yesterday. Well, first off, the U.S. slapped sanctions on 60 entities dealing with Iran. The list includes the UAE in the Mideast, in Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and then here in Europe, there are a few in France and here in the United Kingdom. But Iran's economy minister, he responded with a kind of message, we've been here before, and he said that we know how to play this game. Case in point, though, Iran has faced sanctions from the West ever since the Islamic Republic was established back in 1979. We know the government's still in power. I think the question is, are sanctions hurting them? Short answer, yes. The currencies collapsed just this week. The rial fell to a record low of 2 million rials to the dollar. That makes it expensive for Iranians to buy things. For the government, oil exports have plunged. But one notable thing, as I just mentioned, Bessent left out from sanctions was any real pressure on China, even after saying this. Take a listen.
As I said, every country, every entity should know that they should be prepared to face U.S. sanctions. And no one is above this.
But yeah, where is China? One data point I want to remind is China's importing about 90% of Iran's oil right now, and China's biggest banks are believed to be, they're accused of giving loans to small Chinese refineries who are taking in that sanctioned oil all the way across the world from Iran. China's accused of doing much more than that, though, Errol, like faking the origin of Iranian oil, often claiming that it comes from Malaysia. It it fakes the legal ownership of Iranian ships and then changes that to China. And then China's Commerce Ministry this year told its companies to defy U.S. sanctions on Iranian oil. And that, of course, has to come straight from the top, Xi Jinping right there. The takeaway is that without the U.S. pressuring Beijing even more, these sanctions, frankly, will probably not have the teeth to make much of a difference. But Bessent did say, look out for later this week, because a major announcement, he said, of a financial institution being sanctioned could come out. He didn't say where that country would be or where that bank would be, but also looking even further ahead to next month, President Trump is set to meet with President Xi Jinping in Washington. So we'll look ahead to that.
All right, a lot to watch for. Ramy in London, thank you.
Yeah.